For me, it's impossible to put into words what it means for me to see this car and where we are in the Rimac campus. Many people ask me which is my favorite car, and I always say it's the Nevera because this is where I gave most of my blood.
July 2025, Papenburg, Germany. Matt Rimac rolls his Nevera R onto the longest test oval in Europe, 2,107 horsepower of electric fury. Over 4 days, the Nevera R drops 24 world records. The crown jewel, 0 to 400 to 0 kilometers per hour in 25.79 seconds. 2 full seconds clear of the Koenigsegg Jesko Absolut. Electric has finally killed combustion. The war is over. 26 days later, Christian von Koenigsegg walks back into a quiet Swedish airfield. No new car, no new engine, no new gearbox. Just a hard drive, and the most patient revenge in motorsport history. Koenigsegg and Rimac. The record breakers, you need to understand something about this rivalry before we get to the records. It is not a story about two cars. It is a story about two philosophies, and a refusal on both sides to accept second place. It starts in November 2017, when Koenigsegg took their Regera RS out to a closed stretch of Nevada highway.
Oh, it's extremely fast. It's 450 km/h fast, so it's the world's fastest production car.
And in between breaking the production car top speed record, casually set a 0-400 km/h time of 33.29 seconds. At the time, that was extraordinary. The idea of launching from a dead stop to 249 miles per hour and scrubbing it back to zero in just over half a minute felt almost science fiction. Koenigsegg wasn't just building fast cars. They were building the fastest cars. Full stop. 2 years later in 2019, they went even faster, this time with the Regera, their hybrid monster, posting a 31.49-second run. The record stayed Swedish, stayed combustion, stayed Koenigsegg. Then came Rimac. If Koenigsegg is the old gunslinger of the hypercar world, a one-man army operation out of Ängelholm, built on obsession and pure engineering audacity. Rimac is the startup that somehow became a giant before anyone realized it was happening. Mate Rimac started wiring batteries into a beat-up BMW in his garage at 19. By his early 30s, he owned a piece of Bugatti. Let that land for a second. And in May 2023, his Nevera walked into Papenburg and did something that made the established hypercar order genuinely uncomfortable. It posted a 0-400 time of 29.93 seconds. Not only did it smash through the 30-second barrier for the first time in history, it did it electrically. 4 motors, all-wheel drive, no exhaust note, no combustion, just torque. Delivered instantly in all 4 corners simultaneously. 23 records fell in a single day. Koenigsegg's response was almost elegant in its speed. Less than a month later, 28 days to be precise, they rolled the Regera out of retirement. An out-of-production car originally developed a decade earlier, with better tires and a smoother surface at the Örebro airfield in Sweden. The result? 28.81 seconds. Record reclaimed. Statement made. Their official communication barely acknowledged what had just happened, asking rhetorically, why set new records with a car that's long off the production line? Because it can. Because it is still the king. The confidence was infuriating and brilliant. For a while, that 28.81 looked unbeatable. Then Koenigsegg went and beat it themselves. In June 2024, the Jesko Absolut,
28.81 seconds. Fast forward to today, where the Koenigsegg Jesko Absolut has shattered previous records.
Their 1,600 horsepower twin-turbo V8 weapon, rear-wheel drive only, running on E85 ethanol, posted 27.83 seconds at the same Örebro airfield. Factory driver Markus Lund behind the wheel. Raceologic verified. A new benchmark. The rhythm of this rivalry, when you lay it out, has a kind of music to it. Koenigsegg sets a number. Rimac arrives and resets it. Koenigsegg comes back. Rimac, Koenigsegg. Back and forth, faster each time, the gap between runs getting shorter, the margins getting tighter. But with the Jesko Absolut's 27.83 sitting on the board heading into 2025, the question in every car-obsessed corner of the internet was the same. How does Rimac answer? They'd had 2 years to think about it. 2 years to engineer something that would make even the Jesko blink. As it turned out, they came to Papenburg with 2,107 reasons. Rimac's 24 record, Earthquake, the Nevera R, had been announced and teased for months before Papenburg. Mate Rimac had described it publicly as the only car in the world that accelerates faster than it brakes. He'd said the R stood for radical, relentless, and rebellious. There was plenty of spectacle before the car ever turned a wheel in anger, but spectacle and verification are two different things. Papenburg, the automotive testing Papenburg Oval in northern Germany, not far from the Dutch border, is where spectacle goes to become fact. The testing window ran July 5th through July 8th, 2025. 4 days. The Nevera R arrived in its high-speed mode, independently verified by Doosoft with precision measurement equipment. What Rimac brought was not an incremental upgrade over the original Nevera. This was a ground-up reconstruction of what an electric hypercar could be. The numbers: first, 2,107 horsepower from 4 electric motors. That's 294 more than the standard Nevera's already ridiculous 1,813. New battery chemistry, a 108 kilowatt-hour pack designed for sustained high-performance use rather than just burst output. The biggest and stiffest carbon fiber structure of any car ever made, according to Rimac. 15% more downforce from a redesigned fixed rear wing and a completely reworked front clip. New Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires, a redesigned torque vectoring system. The result of all of that was immediate and overwhelming. 0 to 60 miles per hour, 1.66 seconds. By the time you finished this sentence, it would already be doing highway speeds. 0-100 kilometers bar, 1.72 seconds. The quarter mile, 7.9 seconds, a number that before electrics arrived barely existed outside of purpose-built drag machines. And then the crown jewel, 0-400 0 kilometers per hour in 25.79 seconds. That was 2.04 seconds faster than Koenigsegg's Jesko Absolut record from 2024. In a discipline measured in hundredths, a 2-second gap might as well be a canyon. Rimac also set a new top speed record for production electric vehicles at 431.45 kilometers, 68 miles per hour. 24 records in total. Every single one of the original Nevera's 23 benchmarks was beaten, plus one additional title claimed on top. The hypercar internet lost its mind. Breaking records is in our DNA, and we won't stop here, Matt Rimac said in the official statement. The subtext was impossible to miss. Electric had not just matched combustion. On this particular metric, on this particular day, it had made combustion look like a history lesson. That framing, electric killing combustion, the new guard overwhelming the old, spread fast. Commentators who had spent years qualifying electric hypercars with asterisks.
Experts say by 2040, electric cars will be the standard.
Suddenly found those asterisks hard to locate. 4 motors, all-wheel drive, 2,107 horsepower. The Koenigsegg record that had seemed almost untouchable just 13 months before had been dispatched by more than 2 seconds. The score now read: Rimac 25.79, Koenigsegg 27.83. Over 2 seconds clear, 24 records in 4 days, and a founder whose ambition visibly has no ceiling. In Ängelholm, Sweden, nobody said a word publicly. For 26 days, Christian von Koenigsegg didn't post, didn't comment, didn't react. He was busy. The silence before the strike. There's a specific kind of quiet that is more unsettling than noise. The kind that happens when a company known for obsession decides, without announcement or warning, to go back into the lab and rewrite its own limits. While the Nevera R's record-breaking runs echoed across the automotive world in mid-2025,
but we know that we are crazier and that we have done them all before them.
nothing changed publicly at Koenigsegg Automotive headquarters. No teasers, no hype cycle, no engineered suspense, just silence. But inside that silence, something far more significant was happening. The car in question was the Koenigsegg Jesko Absolut, already one of the most extreme internal combustion hypercars ever built. On paper, nothing changed. Same 5.0-liter twin-turbo V8. Same lightweight carbon structure. Same rear-wheel drive layout. Same brutal focus on top-speed efficiency. But the engineers weren't chasing hardware gains. They were rewriting behavior. The internal project was called Absolute Overdrive. And instead of adding power, they removed friction, computationally. The first layer was the transmission. the legendary light-speed transmission, capable of pre-selecting gears and executing shifts in near-instant time. Engineers recalibrated every shift point, every transition curve, every torque handoff. Not for comfort, for absolute extraction of performance and under one specific condition, the 0-400 km/h run. The second layer was engine mapping. The twin-turbo V8 running on E85 wasn't made stronger, it was made sharper. Power delivery was reshaped to be more predictable at the edge of traction and stability, especially at extreme speeds where small inefficiencies multiply into seconds. The third layer was torque management, the invisible conversation between throttle input and rear-wheel response. This is where Koenigsegg's philosophy becomes clear. It is not about how much power exists, but how precisely it is deployed. At 250 miles per hour, the difference between perfection and failure is measured in milliseconds of software logic. What makes Absolute Overdrive unusual is not just its performance intent, but its philosophy. Koenigsegg treats its cars as evolving systems. The update wasn't built for a single run. It was built for every Jesko Absolut ever delivered. Owners would receive it. The car would improve without changing. That idea alone separates Koenigsegg from almost every other hypercar manufacturer. In a world increasingly defined by electrification and software-defined performance, they had already been operating that way inside combustion architecture for years. And then came Orebro. No marketing build-up, no staged reveal, just a return to the runway where records had already been written. A quiet arrival carrying something invisible but decisive. A recalibrated machine, not rebuilt, refined. The result of that refinement would not just be a faster number. It would be a statement about a different kind of speed war, one where advantage no longer comes from adding complexity, but from mastering control over what already exists. Because in this rivalry, nothing is ever really finished. Not records, not engineering, and certainly not silence. The comeback at Orebro, August 7, 2025. Orebro is not famous for much. A quiet city in central Sweden, a few hours west of Stockholm, with an airfield that looks ordinary to almost everyone who sees it. But over the last few years, that strip of tarmac has become something else entirely. It has become Koenigsegg territory, the place where Koenigsegg Automotive AB goes when it wants to remind the world that records are never safe for long. August 7th, 2025. Same runway, same driver, same Koenigsegg Jesko Absolut that had already stunned the hypercar world in 2024. Behind the wheel was Markus Lund, a man who has spent years piloting machines capable of speeds that barely feel compatible with physics. But there was one problem: rain. Earlier that morning, the Orebro runway had been wet. By the time the attempt began, conditions were only partially dry. Not ideal, not perfectly grippy, not the kind of surface most manufacturers would risk a record attempt on. Many teams would have waited. Koenigsegg didn't. Lund launched the Jesko Absolut from a standstill, and immediately the changes from the new Absolut Overdrive software package became obvious. The light-speed transmission ripped through its shifts with almost unnatural precision. The 600 horsepower twin-turbocharged V8, sending all of its power only to the rear wheels, accelerated with astonishing violence. No all-wheel drive, no electric motors, no traction advantage. Just combustion, software, and control. The numbers were staggering.
In hybrid electrical vehicle in existence. But going back to the direct drive, we have the electrical motor, we have the combustion engine, the electric motor sitting on the crank.
The Jesko reached 400 km/h in just 16.77 seconds, more than 2 seconds faster than the exact same car had managed 13 months earlier. Then came the braking phase, from 248 miles per hour back to zero in only 8.44 seconds. When the race logic data was confirmed, the final number appeared, 25.21 seconds. Just weeks earlier, Rimac Automobili and the Rimac Nevera R had shocked the automotive world with a 25.79-second run, more than 2,100 horsepower, 4 electric motors, all-wheel drive. It looked untouchable. Koenigsegg erased it by over half a second. And the most astonishing part, the hardware had not changed. Same chassis, same engine, same physical machine. The difference came almost entirely from software optimization and calibration refinement. Koenigsegg didn't add more power, they extracted more intelligence from what already existed. When Christian von Koenigsegg finally spoke, his response carried the calm confidence of someone who already knew the outcome. To achieve this kind of performance with a production ice car and rear-wheel drive only, he said, is almost magical. And maybe that was the real statement. Not that combustion was still alive, but that Koenigsegg still understood speed in a way almost nobody else did. Koenigsegg's hidden advantage revealed. Here's the thing about the 0.58-second margin Koenigsegg now holds. It is not the most important number from August 7th. The most important number is 0, as in zero new hardware, as in the gap between where this car was and where it is now was closed entirely in software. What that tells us, if you follow the logic to its conclusion, is that Koenigsegg has been, in some meaningful sense, holding back. Not intentionally, not deceptively, but every high-performance car in the world is a compromise between what the hardware can theoretically do and what the software currently allows it to do safely and repeatably for customers. The Jesko Absolut pre-overdrive was running on calibrations built for customer use, for longevity, for the full range of conditions that people who spent millions on hypercars actually encounter. Absolute overdrive stripped that back to the essential question: what is the absolute maximum this machine can do in perfect execution of this specific task? The answer was a 25.21-second run on a drying runway, which means under dry conditions with an optimized surface, the true ceiling is still unknown. And the Jesko is not even Koenigsegg's most extreme platform. The Nevera, the four-seat all-wheel drive hybrid that Koenigsegg calls a Mega GT, produces 300 horsepower from a combination of a twin-turbo 3-cylinder engine and 3 electric motors. It has 4-wheel drive. It has the torque management of an electric car layered onto the top-end power of a combustion unit. It has never attempted a 0-400 run. Not once. Whenever that changes, the record landscape shifts again. Meanwhile, Rimac's position is not one of defeat, not even close. The Nevera R still holds every EV record it set in July. It remains the fastest accelerating production electric car ever made.
And with the Nevera, we broke 50-ish world records. Some of them are serious ones, like acceleration and top speed and so on, but also silly ones, like driving 275 kilometers per hour in reverse.
A machine capable of 268 miles per hour from a road-legal platform. Rimac Technology's footprint now extends across Bugatti Rimac, which means that when the Bugatti Tourbillon, the 2,800-plus horsepower V16 hybrid successor to the Chiron, eventually runs a 0-400, the Croatian influence is embedded in its DNA too. Mate Rimac also has something Koenigsegg doesn't in the same way: scale. Rimac Technology supplies battery and powertrain systems to multiple manufacturers. The learnings from the Nevera R's record runs feed into an industrial operation that is growing faster than the hypercar record tables can keep up with. HOF Capital's backing gives Rimac the runway to operate at a pace that a boutique manufacturer in Sweden, however brilliant, structurally cannot match. But Koenigsegg's advantage is different in kind, not in degree. They have never needed scale to win. The company builds approximately 30 cars per year. 30. And yet here they are, holding the 0-400 record against a company with Bugatti money, Croatian engineering talent, and 2,107 horsepower of all-wheel drive electric motivation. 30 cars a year versus a global powertrain supplier. And the record belongs to the smaller side. What this software win reveals, most importantly, is that the Koenigsegg technical team has capabilities they have not yet fully deployed. Every time Rimac arrives with a new weapon, Koenigsegg identifies a new layer to unlock, not in a new car, but in the cars they have already built. That approach has a compounding quality. There will be another overdrive update, another recalibration, another run. And somewhere in Croatia, Rimac's engineers are already reading the 25.21 number and thinking about what the Nevera R can do that it hasn't done yet. That's where this ends for now. Not in resolution, in anticipation. This rivalry no longer feels like a battle between cars. It feels like a battle for the future itself. Koenigsegg Automotive AB keeps proving that software, precision, and relentless optimization can still push combustion technology beyond what anyone thought possible. Rimac Automobili keeps proving that electrification and raw computational power can rewrite the laws of acceleration entirely. And neither side is slowing down. Right now, somewhere in Sweden, engineers are rewriting code. Somewhere in Croatia, engineers are studying telemetry, searching for the next breakthrough. The records will fall again. The numbers will change again, because 25.21 seconds is not the conclusion of this war. It is the countdown to the next round.